Hello, my beautiful planty people, and how are you doing today? I hope you are doing well. I am doing well. It's honestly, I'm having one of those days. I dropped the boys off at school. It was nice, and it was warm, and it was sunny, and I was like, I'm gonna film some videos today. I'm gonna get some stuff done. I'm feeling motivated. So I came home, put my face on, I even curled my hair. Yeah. It'll end up in a ponytail within the hour, I assure you. But anyway, for now, it's curled and down. And I don't know how I feel about it. But anywho, today I am going to run you through some of my biggest houseplant boo-boos. Those things that I have done in my lengthy plant journey that probably weren't the smartest idea. Probably shouldn't have done some things that I should have done that I didn't do. And that is what we are talking about today. So for those of you who are new here, hi, hello, welcome. My name is Nikki. This is my channel, Plants, Pots, and Whatnot. And for my gluttons for punishment, my GFPs who keep coming back for more. I love you guys. Thank you so much for coming back all the time and supporting me. It means so much more than I can tell you. So, also, at the end of this video, I have the second part to my news last Sunday. If you missed last Sunday's video, my Dollar Tree and thrift haul, go watch that. At the end of the video, I make a little bit of an announcement. It's a big deal to me. I don't know how many of you will be a big deal to, but I was pretty excited. However, I want to say thank you guys so much for those of you who were just as excited as I was about this new project that I am undertaking. I was so happy and so blessed to see everybody who was just as excited as I was about this. So thank you so much. Your support means so much to me, and I had all the good feels when I was reading all of those comments that like, yes, okay, good. Because I'm telling you, it was like a big step to make the decision to do that. And it just made me go like a little bit when I saw that, that, you know, some of you guys were interested in that too. Okay, I'm rambling again, shocker. Anyway, so we're gonna start with my houseplant boo-boos. Then we are going to move on to part 2 of my exciting news and what to look forward to very soon. So, if that sounds like something that you'd like to watch, then let's just get to it and stop me from rambling, okay? Okay, so I took a little break between filming the intro and filming the main chunk of the content, and we had to lose the hair down. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I had to put it up. So now it's really tight and squishing my brain. Okay, so let's talk about some houseplant boo-boos that I have made along the way. So we're gonna go through my top 5 things that I made mistakes with, or that I made the mistake of doing or not doing, and I'm gonna share those with you in hopes that it potentially could help you as well. So let's start off by the probably honestly, it was probably one of the biggest mistakes that I have made, and that is buying everything and anything I came across. You guys know the feeling. You know what I'm talking about. You go into that garden store, garden center, or that nursery, or that plant shop, and the idea of wanting your house to be full of beautiful greenery and things is just so incredibly overwhelming that you want to buy everything in the store. So this is a problem for so many different reasons. Number one, in the beginning, so I have always had houseplants since I moved out. My grandparents had houseplants growing up, and then when I moved out, plants have always been a part of my life. But if you've been around a while, you know that just a few years back, when I found the plant community on Instagram and on YouTube, that's when things got a little cray-cray. They got a little out of control. I found all these plants that I'd never seen before, never heard of before, and I spent an insane amount of money buying every plant that I came across. If there's one piece of advice that I could probably give you, if you're just starting out, please don't do that. I know it's so incredibly hard and it's so much easier said than done. But number one, you're gonna break the bank. Trust me. Gosh, please trust me. It's really expensive and it gets out of control really fast. And it's not just the plant that you're spending the money on, which can be substantial, but it's also all the things that you need to go along with that plant. So it's like when you buy a pet. So let's say you buy a dog, you buy this cute little puppy. Well, when you buy this cute little puppy, it's not just the puppy. You need to buy dog food, you need to buy toys, you need to buy a leash, and you need to buy a collar, and you need to buy, like treats, and you need to buy like all of these things, food dishes for them. And then an ongoing basis, you need to rebuy these things. It's the same idea with plants. You need fertilizer, you need proper soil for individual plants, potentially proper for a different fertilizer for individual plants. You need pots. It's a lot. So if there's one piece of advice I wish I heard or / had listened to in the beginning, it's just rein that in a little bit. You don't need everything right now. Those plants will be there down the line. Yeah, that's definitely number one and probably the biggest one in the very beginning, if I could give you one piece of advice. Okay, let's move on to number two. So kind of going along with number one, number two is not properly researching the plants that I'm bringing home. So let's say you go out to the store, you buy a succulent, you buy a cacti, you buy a pothos, and you buy a cute little begonia. And you bring them all home and you sit them on the same shelf and you go, that looks so nice. Oh my gosh, I love plants. And then a week goes by and then you water them all. And then another week goes by and you water them all. Now we're running into problems. Not every plant requires the exact same care. Cacti, succulents, even those, the care on those two plants differ slightly. Pothos, super easy, very forgiving. Begonias, not as much. A little bit more tricky. You can't treat every plant the same. And even let's take cacti and succulents out of the mix here, but even tropical plants require different things, different amounts of light. I think the one thing, I hear this a lot about succulents, is that because you'll hear, hey, if you're not a plant person, get a succulent, you can't kill them. Wow. That is probably the worst piece of advice that I have ever heard. If you don't understand how to take care of a succulent, those things will die so incredibly quickly. Succulents need an insane amount of light, and not an insane amount of water. So you need to give them very bright conditions. So if you don't have like crazy high, like southwest facing light coming into your home the majority of the day, you're going to need to supplement with like a grow light. And then when we're talking about tropical plants, different tropical plants have vastly different watering, lighting conditions. You know, some things can handle higher light, some don't. But in the beginning, you just bring everything home and you have no idea what the needs are for those particular plants. So here's my piece of advice for you. Know what you're bringing home, okay? Either research it while you're standing there at the nursery or the plant shop or, you know, the garden center. Do a quick Google search because you want to find out if you can even provide the type of care that that plant requires in your home. If you're not home very often, but you buy a plant that needs constant moisture and needs to be watered very frequently, you know, things like calathea, probably aren't for you. If you know that you're a person who overwaters everything, cacti and succulents probably aren't for you. So do a little bit of research. It takes a few seconds just to Google that type of plant, find out its general care requirements, and know if you have a place in your home and a place in your heart that can actually care for that particular plant. Or at the very least, when you get home, Google that plant and then make sure you're putting it in the conditions that suit that plant the best. Okay, I think that's all I had to say about number 2. Let's move on to number 3. Okay, I kind of touched on it a little bit already, but number 3 is placing your plants in the proper lighting conditions. Lighting is so incredibly crucial for your plants. You know, you may be in your home and you go, this is a really nice, bright space. There's lots of light in here. It's very lovely. Just because it looks bright to you doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be bright to your plant. So again, we're kind of referencing back to number 2, know what kind of lighting conditions that particular plant requires and do the best you can to put it into that lighting condition. The one thing that I think probably irks me the most about advice that you'll get is such and such a plant thrives in low light. And I think most of you guys can agree with me that this is a horrible piece of advice for a brand new plant parent that is just learning. It's setting people up for failure right off the hop. And there are plants that will not die as quickly in low or no light settings, like snake plants, aglaonemas, trailing philodendrons, pothos, and that kind of thing. But if you're buying a plant to put in your home, you want it to look nice. You want it to grow. And plants cannot grow without food. And plant food, contrary to popular belief, is not fertilizer. It is the sun. The sun is what will make the plant grow and thrive and look beautiful and like you want it to. So make sure that you have the proper light in your home. Don't stick a plant in a dark bathroom and expect it to be like fabulous, because it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen for you, I promise. If you absolutely want a plant in that particular room, there are some amazing faux plant options. I know IKEA has a lot of really great faux plants that are rather realistic looking. In fact, I was at the Dollar Tree the other day, and I saw they have all kinds of, they've upped their game on their tropical plant selection. I saw these are golden pothos, and honestly, if you just saw it like at a glance, it's pretty convincing. So if you have like a dark bathroom or something, but you really need that pop of green, you want it for your decor, you love the look, just go ahead, go to the Dollar Tree, go to IKEA. They have faux plants everywhere, and nobody needs to know. Your secret is safe with me. Anyway, so that is number 3. Know the lighting conditions in your home and place plants in the appropriate spots. And if you don't get enough natural light coming into your home, if you can't get a whole lot of plants in your window or by a patio door or whatever, there's always the option of grow lights. And if you've been around a while here on my channel, you'll know that I have a ton of grow lights. Unfortunately, the wall right here is a west-southwest wall, so I really don't get all that beautiful afternoon sun coming into my house, which is so sad. So unfortunately, I do have to supplement with a lot of grow lights, but you know what? We do what we need to do for the things that we love. And I do love my plants. So anyway, that may mean that you have to spend a couple extra dollars on some grow lights, but there are some great budget-friendly options that work really well. I do have the ones that I use linked in my Amazon storefront if you wanted to take a look at those, but there's lots of great options for you on Amazon. Okay, let's move on to number 4. Okay, number 4, I honestly think that if you asked any plant lover, somebody who's been taking care of plants for a while, what was the number one thing you struggle with or even still struggle with? I almost am willing to bet they will say water. So most people are either an extreme on either side. Some people are overwaters, just constantly wanting to water the plant. I like to call them overcares because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to care for the plant. We think that's what the plant wants. We think that's what the plant needs, so we just give it all the time. Or on the flip side, you're an underwaterer. You stick a plant on a shelf, it looks pretty, it's decor, and then you completely forget it's there. And next thing you know, you walk by and the plant's like and drying and crisping out, and it's awful. Very rarely, unless you've had a lot of experience, is there anybody right down the middle where they have that watering down perfectly for all the plants in the collection. And also, the amount of plants that you have in the collection really does affect that as well. I haven't counted recently, but I think I have somewhere around 250 plants. If I was to water them all on the same day, which would never happen because they don't all require water at the same time. But let's say for some weird example, or let's say in some weird alternate reality where they all needed water at the same time, it would take a really, really long time. I don't know where I was going with that. Covered in hair. So I'm not going to go too far into like all the ins and outs of watering. If you want to see or learn about how to properly water your houseplants, I do have an entire video on that. I will link it up here. But basically, one of the main things, if you're an overwaterer, you really need to take a look at your actual soil. It's almost impossible to overwater a plant when it has good soil, the soil that it needs. It needs to be super well draining, etc. Now, that's not to say that if you don't water your plant, now that's not to say if you water your plant like every other day that it's not going to get root rot and die. No, it's totally going to, but your soil is going to go a long way in helping you. So if you know you're an overwaterer, that's even more of a reason to make sure that you have super great, well-draining soil. If you're an underwaterer, maybe you want to shift your soil a little bit to the more water retentive soil mixture. So, you know, maybe a little less perlite, a little less bark, those sorts of things that tend to make soil more airy and more well draining. You want something maybe that retains it a little bit better. Anyway, not going to go too far into watering, but I know that the number one thing that people still struggle with, whether you're a new plant parent, an old plant parent, is watering. And usually it's watering too much. There's so many things that could affect that. I encourage you that if you have issues with watering or have any questions about watering, go ahead and watch my How to Water Your Plants Properly video. If you still have questions after that, please feel free to go ahead and throw some questions down in the comments of that video and I will answer them for you. But it is a struggle. I was brutal with overwatering my plants. I would just like... It's bad. It was bad, guys. I had some mushy plants and I mean, that's what the first thing when you say to any person who doesn't do plants is, if I gave you this plant, how would you take care of it? They'd be like, oh, I just watered all the time. Guaranteed ask somebody funny. Anyway, I'm not going to go on about that. I screwed that up so hardcore with many plants along the way, and especially when I was bringing plants home that I had never had before, way back in the beginning when I didn't know that different plants had different requirements. I just watered everything at the same time and called it a day. Just bad news bears. Doesn't work. Okay, I will stop talking about watering. Go watch the other video if you still have more questions about watering. Let's move on to the final thing that I screwed up and my final tip for you. Okay, The final thing that I screwed up with is just to freak out. I freaked out about everything. Is that a spot on the leaf? Why is that leaf brown? Why is that leaf yellow? Oh my gosh, is this leaf too green? Did I water too much? Did I not water enough? Is that enough light? Oh my God, is that a bug? Nope, it's just Lynn. Oh my God, is that too much dust? Should I dust my leaves? How often do I dust my... Like... In retrospect, it is quite amusing. But honestly, the best thing that I learned how to do was just to chill out. Plants are typically very resilient. And unless you have some super diva plant that has these, you know, crazy care requirements, most plants will bounce back from whatever it is, if it's caught in a decent time frame. Whether it's underwatering, overwatering, you can still save most plants if you catch it in time. Pests, I think, is the number one thing that most people freak out about most often. And honestly, if you're checking your plants on a regular basis and you catch pests, you know, when it's not like completely engulfed your plant will snap back. They're not that big of a deal. And I think that a lot of people just need to get comfortable with the idea that if you have houseplants, especially like a larger collection, you're going to have pests. You're going to have spider mites. You're going to get mealybugs, especially if you have succulents, and Hoyas seem to be mealybug magnets. You're going to get thrips. Thrips suck, let me tell you. I do also have a video on that I will link up here. But I have just accepted the fact that these things are going to happen now. I deal with things when they arise. I don't worry about it because really none of it's like earth shattering. You know what I mean? Like if you see like a thrips on one of your plants, just deal with it. It's going to happen. Thrips aren't going to take a plant out, you know, in the span of like a day or two or even a couple of weeks. It takes a massive, massive infestation to actually decimate a plant. And pretty sure you're going to catch most issues long before that's a thing. Now, your plant may take some nips and bites and not look the prettiest if it gets thrips or spider mites or aphids or whatever, but it's treatable and it's not going to kill your plant. Especially when I started getting into more uncommon plants, I had a few scenarios where I've just dropped all of the leaves. So at that point, your first instinct is to panic. Oh my gosh, my plant's dead. What did I do? Whatever. And you throw it in the garbage. Well, what I learned, and I actually learned this fairly quickly, thankfully, is that 9 times out of 10, the plant is fine. The actual roots of the plant, the base of the plant itself is perfectly fine. If it drops all of its roots, if it drops all of its leaves, first thing we're going to want to do is check the roots. If the roots are okay, your plant will be fine. It will grow back. Throw it in some great light, some high humidity, and I assure you that it will grow back. It will be okay. So don't just automatically assume when something looks dead that it is. Make sure you check because you could be throwing away, hopefully not a couple $100 plant, but especially if it's a couple $100 plant, you definitely want to be doing absolutely everything you can possibly do to make sure that that plant, you know, comes back. So don't just panic. Relax. Plant collecting, taking care of plants. Plant parenthood is supposed to be a fun and enjoyable and relaxing experience. And if you're not relaxed and you're panicking about every little thing, every little spot, every little pest, it's going to be really overwhelming and it's not going to be something that you continue on with. Right. I think that's it. I have videos on most of the different topics that I covered today. If you haven't seen any of those, by all means, go and check those out. And if you liked this video, please make sure that you hit that like button down below. If you're still here, thank you so much. So now for the news. So this coming Friday will be the launch date for my brand new channel. Drum roll, please. The Cheapo Chateau. So this whole channel is basically going to be, like I stated last Sunday, unless you missed it, is all just about inexpensive ways that you can improve your home, whether that be refinishing furniture or decor DIY stuff, organizing things, cleaning things, just everything involved to make your home more of a place that you feel comfortable in and that you're really proud of. Whether you rent your home or whether you own your own home, this kind of has something for everyone. And so the first few videos, so the first video on the channel is going to be a thrift haul. It's more of a thrift Dollar Tree haul where I'll go through all of the things that I have purchased in the last few weeks that will be things that, and I'll explain what I'm going to be using them for. And then the following week, we're going to jump into my first official series on the channel, which will be a complete kitchen flip. So basically I am taking my outdated 70s, 80s kitchen and turning it into something beautiful and modern, but on a budget. We're doing things cheaply that don't look cheap. So I think the slogan for my channel is going to be making cheap look good. Anyway, I will put the link to my new channel, The Cheapo Chateau, down in the description of this video. I really hope to see you guys over there. There is currently one video on that channel, and it is just a trailer saying hello and welcoming everybody, just explaining who I am, what they can expect from the channel, so on and so forth. So I really hope that you guys will join me over there. It's a whole, I'm scared, guys. It's a whole new niche of YouTube. It's a whole new community that I have zero experience with at all, and I am scared. It's like, you know, when you start at a new school and you walk in and all the kids have known each other like their whole lives, but you're walking in for the first time in like grade 8 where everybody else has all their friend groups, and you walk into the room like, hi, I'm new. That is how I feel right now. It's terrifying. So I could really use you guys over there to just help me feel a little bit more like, okay, I can do this. Anyway, thank you guys so much for your support. As always, you are fantastic. You are wonderful. I love you so much. If you are watching this video and you are not currently subscribed, please consider doing so by hitting that subscribe button down in the, under here. It's somewhere under here. I would really appreciate it so very much. It is a huge help for the channel if you're able to do that and interact in some way. Throw an emoji down there, hit like, hit unlike, don't like, thumbs down, thumbs up, whatever that's called. Any engagement would be fantastical. I will wrap this up because I could just ramble on forever, as you know. So I would like you all to have an amazing and wonderful day, night, week, month, and year. I will see you in the next video and hopefully on my new channel. I love you all to bitty bits. Mwah!